Florida is considered the Sunshine State of the United States. The state is not only known for its beaches, culture and metropolises such as Miami, but it is also one of the most prosperous regions in the entire country. Economically, Florida is as strong as the entire country of Mexico. It is all the more astonishing when you look at how Florida became part of the United States in the first place. It remained loyal to the British and fought against the other states in the American War of Independence. It later fell to Spain, which sold it to the US for an incredible bargain price of just $5 million. So what's the story behind this incredibly bad deal, and why was Florida originally at enmity with the other states? We look at all these questions in today's video. The first discovery of Florida by Europeans took place in the year 1513, when the Spanish explorer Juan Ponce de Leon landed on the east coast of Florida. He called the land Pascua Florida, meaning blossoming Easter, because he discovered it during Easter time. He searched for the legendary Fountain of Youth, but did not find it. Instead, he found a hostile environment with wild animals, mosquitoes and Indians who did not recognize his claims to the land. As a result, the Spaniards found it very difficult to colonize the land for a long time. They failed time and again due to the resistance of the indigenous people and the adverse conditions. It was not until the year 1565 that they were able to establish their first fortified settlement, the city of St. Augustine. Incidentally, this is considered to be the first European city in North America. The Spanish had already established a far-reaching colonial empire in South America, Central America and the Caribbean, and were now also striving for control over North America. From St. Augustine, other cities sprang up on the peninsula and Florida became an important outpost for the Spanish. In addition to their religion, language and culture, they brought slaves from Africa to Florida, who were forced to work on the plantations and laid the foundations for the colony's economic rise. However, the other European colonial powers were not unaware of this development and increasingly disputed the territory with the Spanish. This led to several wars against the French and British for control of Florida. And the British were finally able to conquer Florida in the year 1763 in the course of the 7 Years' War. They divided it into two colonies, East and West Florida, with the eastern area corresponding to present-day Florida. They promoted trade and it became a stronghold of the Loyalists, i.e. supporters of the British Crown. In the northern colonies, anti-British sentiment increasingly spread, which ultimately led to the American War of Independence. As a result, many Loyalists fled to Florida. As already mentioned, Florida remained loyal to the British and even fought against the other American states. As we know, however, the British were defeated. The 13 colonies in the north became independent and founded the United States of America. And in the Peace of Paris, the British also had to give Florida back to the Spanish. But Florida was badly damaged by the war and was now under increasing pressure from the USA, which wanted to expand to the southwest. There were repeated border disputes and more Americans settled in Florida, which meant that the influence of the Spanish over the region continued to wane. In the years after the year 1800, events came thick and fast. A rebellion against the Spanish broke out in West Florida and it was annexed by the USA. Spain was occupied by Napoleon at the time, which meant it could not intervene and could not defend the territory. And so there were also uprisings in East Florida and the United States intervened here too. They occupied it between the years 1812 and 1814, and when Spain was able to free itself from Napoleonic rule, negotiations began about the future of Florida. However, the negotiations were very one-sided, as Spain was weakened on all sides and the entire colonial empire was about to collapse. U.S. Secretary of State John Quincy Adams therefore pulled off a coup and was able to wrest the territory from the Spanish for the paltry sum of $5 million. This $5 million was intended to make up for the damage caused by American citizens in the rebellion against the Spanish. Otherwise, however, it was one of the best deals in history, as the Spanish subsequently gave up their claim to Florida completely. Florida thus became a U.S. territory in the year 1822 and the 27th state of the USA from the year 1845. Of course, we also have to take inflation into account, and $5 million was worth about $120 today. Nevertheless, it is of course ridiculous when you consider that Florida today generates an annual GDP of $1 trillion. In the following years, Florida experienced an economic boom due to the cultivation of citrus fruits, tobacco and sugarcane, as well as the construction of railroads and hotels. It became one of the first tourist centers in the world and eventually one of the richest U.S. states.